Hello everyone. Welcome back to Swayam MOOC on British Poetry and Drama 14th to 17th century. It's such a pleasure to be with you all again. In our previous session, we explored Act 1 of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, the foundations of this delightful, confusing, and deeply human comedy. We watched the play open with music, with Orsino sighing, "If music be the food of love, play on." We saw Viola shipwrecked, separated from her twin brothers, Sebastian, and deciding to disguise herself as a young man, Cesario. We saw Olivia withdrawing in mourning, yet becoming the reluctant object of Orsino's love. And we began to notice how Shakespeare builds his comedy upon disguises, mistaken identities, and the strange desires that follow. So far, Shakespeare has set up his chessboard. In Act 2, the game really begins. This is where disguise grows dangerous, love becomes tangled, and folly, in both its comic and serious forms, takes the center stage. Today, we are going to walk through Act 2 of Twelfth Night, scene by scene, reading Shakespeare's words, pausing to understand them, and thinking about why he wrote them this way. Let's begin by setting some learning goals. By the end of this session, you should be able to first trace how disguise and mistaken identity intensify the drama in Act 2. Second, understand the emotional depth in Viola's soliloquy and her exchanges with Orsino. Third, appreciate the comic subplot of Sir Toby, Sir Andrew, and Maria and how it contrasts with the main love triangle. Fourth, you'll be able to analyze the famous gulling of Malvolio, why it is funny but also unsettling. You'll be able to recognize the recurring themes of desire, folly, disguise, and music that Shakespeare threads throughout this act. Keep these goals in mind as we move forward because every scene we study will link back to them. Let us go scene by scene. Act 2, Scene 1. It is here that we meet Sebastian and Antonio. This act opens not with Viola or Orsino, but with Sebastian, her lost twin brother. This is Shakespeare's clever way of reminding us of the disguise plot. Sebastian believes Viola has drowned, and he sets off with his loyal friend Antonio. Antonio is deeply attached to Sebastian. Some readers even see it as a romantic undertone here. He says, "If you'll not murder me for my love, let me be your servant." That's strong language. Antonio risks his safety for Sebastian because he has enemies in Illyria. Why does Shakespeare bring Sebastian in here? Think about it. He's planting the seed for the future confusion because Viola and Sebastian, they look alive, and their double presence will later create some of the most comic mistaken identities in all of Shakespeare. So, Act 2 begins by widening the stage, showing us that disguise problem is about to double itself. In Act 2, Scene 2, we come to a short but very important, scene. Malvolio has returned the ring to Cesario, really to Viola, on Viola's instructions. Viola is puzzled. Then she realizes the truth. Olivia has fallen in love with her. And here comes one of Viola's most famous soliloquies. She cries out, "Disguise, I see, thou art a wickedness, wherein the pregnant enemy does much." Let's pause on this. Viola suddenly recognizes that her disguise, meant to protect her, is now causing unintended harm. Olivia's love is not for Viola but for Cesario, the mask. She continues, how easy it for the proper falls in women's waxen hearts to set their forms. Alas, our frailty is the cause, not we. For such as we are, made of such we be. Here, Shakespeare gives Viola compassion. She does not mock Olivia. Instead, she reflects on the weakness of the human heart. Desire attaches itself quickly, often to the wrong object, and then, with weary resignation, Viola says, O time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie. This is beautiful. Viola cannot solve this problem herself. She must wait for time. Shakespeare's favorite solution, letting events unfold until truth is revealed. This soliloquy is the heart of Act 2. It shows us that disguise is not just comic, it is also dangerous. It creates sympathy, longing, and also pain. It entangles the lives of everyone involved. Then we move to Act 2, Scene 3. In this scene, Shakespeare changes the mood. Scene 3 takes place into Sir Toby's world of drunkenness, Sir Andrew's foolishness, and Feste's wit. This is the comic relief, the low comedy that balances the high emotions of Viola and Orsino. They sing, they joke, they drink, and Maria enters, warning them that Malvolio will scold them. This may feel like pure fun, but it is carefully crafted. Why? Because Shakespeare wants us to see the contrast. On the one side, lofty talk of love, on the other, ridiculous revelry. Yet, both worlds are governed by folly. As we move to the next scene, Act 2, Scene 4, we see the desire disguises in drama of emotion. Here, we reach one of the richest scenes in the play. Orsino once again is musing on love. He claims that men love more deeply than women. He says, there is no woman's sides can bide the beating of so strong a passion as love doth give my heart. But we know Orsino is exaggerating. He loves the performance of being a lover. And here comes Viola, disguised, carrying her secret. She tells him through a story of her sister. My father had a daughter, loved a man. As it might be, perhaps, were I a woman, I should, your lordship. Of course, she's speaking of herself. This is dramatic irony at its finest. The audience knows the truth. Orsino doesn't. Then comes one of the Shakespeare's most haunting descriptions of concealed love. Viola says, she never told her love, but let concealment like a worm in the bud feed on her damask cheek. She pined in thought, and with a green and yellow melancholy, she sat like Patience on a monument, smiling at grief. We could picture it. Patience on a monument. A woman sitting in stillness, smiling outwardly, but dying inwardly. This is Viola's pain. This is the drama of emotion, real love hidden beneath a mask. So, what do we see here? Orsino's desire is self-indulgent. Viola's desire is suppressed but profound. Disguise makes honesty impossible, And Shakespeare makes us feel both the comedy of irony and the tragedy of concealment. As we move to the next scene, scene fifth of this act, the tone changes. Very famous comic scene, we find the trick played on Malvolio by Maria, Toby, and Andrew. All of them hide in a box tree as Malvolio finds the forged letter placed by them. He reads lines such as, "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them." Malvolio convinces himself this must mean him. He imagined himself married to Olivia, commanding Toby. He even vows to wear yellow stockings and crass garters, styles Olivia supposedly adores, as the letter says. As audience, this is hilarious because we know the truth. Malvolio, so pompous, so puritanical, and now made so ridiculous by the play of Maria and all. But pause for a moment. There is something unsettling here too. The trick works because Malvolio is proud, he is ambitious and self-deceived. But it also exposes how cruel laughter can be. We laugh at him, but we also scam. This is Shakespeare's genius, comedy with an edge. With this, we come to an end of our discussions of scene-by-scene implications of Act 2. Now, let us zoom in here. Let us look at the deeper implications of presence of Viola and Orsino. Here, it crystallizes Shakespeare's themes of desire, disguise, and drama of emotion. Orsino's desire, Orsino's love seems to be grand, but it is also shallow. He compares woman's love to roses. For women are as roses whose fair flower, he says. But once displayed, doth fall that very hour. Let us think about it. Is he describing woman or himself? His passion blooms and fades like a rose. Orsino is in love with the idea of being in love, whereas Viola's disguise, bound by disguise, she cannot confess, but she invents a story to tell her emotion. She says, "My father had a daughter, loved a man, as it might be, perhaps, were I a woman, I should your lordship." It is both confession and concealment. We hear her truth. Orsino hears only a story, a tale. That's dramatic irony at its sharpest. We also find drama of emotion unfold here, and then comes one of Shakespeare's greatest images. She never told her love, but let concealment like a worm in the bud feed on her damask cheek. She pined in thought, and with a green and yellow melancholy, she sat like Patience on a monument, smiling at grief. This is breathtaking. Concealed love eats away like a worm. The colors of melancholy are sickness itself. And this is the final picture. Patience on a monument, smiling at grief. It captures love's silent suffering. This is no longer comedy. For a moment, Shakespeare gives us tragedy inside disguise. It forces us to think, is Orsino blind, or is Shakespeare deliberately keeping him blind to intensify our sympathy for Viola? Does disguise give Viola freedom to speak indirectly, or does it imprison her? This scene is Shakespeare's masterstroke. Desire performed, disguise concealing and revealing emotion both acted and felt. Here, comedy has turned into something profoundly moving. Now, as we have discussed the implications of the events of this act, let us, conclude the thematic concerns of the whole act. Act 2 basically has many threads attached to it, and Shakespeare, through these threads, has woven disguise and identity everywhere. Viola's disguise as Cesario entangles her deeper than she ever would have imagined. She hides her love, yet her words betray her heart. Malvolio, in a different sense, disguises his pride as humility. His stiff dignity masks his deep hunger for power and recognition. Love in many forms manifests itself. Orsino gives us self-indulgent passion, grand, musical, and endlessly about himself, while Viola shows us silent devotion, a love that speaks only through veiled stories. Olivia reveals love as sudden and overwhelming, falling for Cesario at first sight. Antonio reminds us of another kind of love, steadfast loyalty, friendship so deep it edges into sacrifice. And Malvolio, his love is really ambition, the desire to rise above his station by marrying his mistress. We also find folly to be one of the thematic concerns of the play. Act 2 brims with folly. The drunken escapades of Sir Toby and Sir Andrew keep us laughing. But folly also belongs to Malvolio, puffed up with his own seriousness, and even to Orsino, blinded by the performance of his desire. We find here fools, drunkards, dukes. In fact, no one escapes Shakespeare's comic touch. Above all, in this act, we also find irony at its work. As audience, we know more than the characters. We know that Viola loves Orsino, but he doesn't know. We know that Olivia loves Cesario, but Cesario is Viola. We know Malvolio thinks he is winning Olivia's love, but we also know that he is the butt of a cruel trick. That gap between what we see and what they believe creates the sparkle of Shakespeare's comedy. Another powerful aspect of the act is music. We find music everywhere. Every song matters. Festus tunes are not just light fillers, they are commentary. They capture emotions the characters cannot express themselves. In this act, music actually becomes the secret language of the heart, giving voice to the unspoken. With this, we come to an end of our discussions of Act 2 of Twelfth Night as far as disguise, mistaken identities, and music are concerned. But before we leave, let us reflect upon this. What does this act leave us with? It leaves us with tension and laughter standing side by side. Viola is trapped in her silence, her love buried under disguise. Orsino is trapped in his own performance, so in love with love that he cannot see true love before him. Olivia is trapped in mistaken desire, her passion directed at the wrong person. Malvolio is trapped in his pride, setting himself up for humiliation. And in the shadows, Sebastian is about to step on stage, promising even greater confusion ahead. This act is the calm before the storm. The threads are all tangled, but not yet knotted. The comedy is playful, but you can already sense the ache of something deeper, almost tragic beneath the laughter. So, I leave you with this question, one to carry with you into the next act, Act 3. Who deserves our sympathy more? What do you think? Is it Viola, forced into silence, her love unspoken, her identity hidden? Or is it Malvolio, puffed up by pride but also cruelly deceived by those around him? Think carefully, because in Act 3, these strands collide and the comedy we laugh at begins to tilt just slightly towards cruelty, towards pain, towards the edge of tragedy. Twelfth Night reminds us that love, disguise, and folly may amuse us, but they can wound just as deeply. That is brilliance of Shakespeare's comedy. It makes us laugh, but it never lets us laugh thoughtlessly. Let us turn from content to style. How Shakespeare's language works in Act 2. So we find music of language. Ursino demands songs, preferring ones that are old and plain. His words themselves are musical, echoing the themes from Act 1, where he said music is the food of love. We also find a lot of wordplay and wit here. Sir Toby, Sir Andrew, and Feste fill their scenes with puns and repetitions. Their prose is noisy, loose, and chaotic, mirroring their drunken revelry. Malvolio's scolding speech contrasts with this, pompous and stiff. Then we also find, imagery of concealment here. Viola's soliloquies, her speech about her sister, all are full of imagery. Eyes, tongues, monuments, patience. Shakespeare basically makes inward feeling visible by these words. Again, you also find, a mix of prose and verse in this. Orsino and Viola speak in verse, elevated and rhythmic, but Toby and Andrew speak in prose, messy, earthly. Malvolio slides between the two, heightening the comedy. Another aspect of style is irony and double meanings that we find here. Viola's speeches to Orsino always carry double meanings. To him, they are tales, stories, but to us, they are confessions. This is the essence of Shakespearean irony. The language itself mirrors the themes of the act. All the themes: concealment, revelation, confusion, and emotion. And so, Act 2 of Twelfth Night gives us both laughter and tears. It brings Sebastian into Illyria, ties the knot of mistaken identity, heightens the folly of Malvolio, and deepens the silent suffering of Viola. It basically is a perfect balance of high poetry and comic prose, of irony and sincerity, of disguise and revelation. As we close, I leave you with this thought. In Twelfth Night, Shakespeare shows us that love is rarely simple. It is tangled, it is disguised, it is sometimes foolish, sometimes painful. But in its very confusion, it reveals what it means to be human. Thank you.